Craziness. Craziness. Look what's happening inside the cell. Look at all the activity. Man, there's some cytoplasmic streaming, some endoplasmic reticulum. Actually, that is endoplasmic reticulum you're seeing there. And this is live footage. It's actual time. So things inside of cells move quite frequently. This is the second part of the screencast about organelles, and we're going to go through some organelles kind of quickly and cover the bases of that. Remember, we're talking about plants and animal cells again, and they have some similarities. That's important to remember. Organelles that have various functions. Mitochondria take energy that we supply them. We give them chemical energy in the form of carbohydrates, and it converts it into an energy that cells can use for their own. So here we have a cartoon mitochondria over on the right-hand side of the diagram, and then an electron micrograph. The interesting thing to know about mitochondria is look at all the folds. We've got two membranes, and the inside membrane folds back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And the reason for that is it increases the surface area, lots and lots of proteins on those membranes, and those are phospholipid bilayers, just like we've been talking about for a long time. Phospholipid bilayers that are loaded with enzymes and proteins that are doing all kinds of work. Here's another illustration. This one's more 3D, and you kind of get the appreciation of all the infolding and the invaginations that are happening here. So we've got an outer membrane and an inner membrane, and some cool chemistry that happens in both of those spaces. When we get talking about cellular energy, we'll look more closely at that structure and then the functions. Here's an electron micrograph of a mitochondria. So this is an actual picture of a mitochondria taken by an electron microscope. A couple of interesting things to note. Look at the foldings. You can see that increased surface area. And then up here, what are these? These little dots. These are ribosomes. So this is endoplasmic reticulum, rough endoplasmic reticulum, and these ribosomes are cranking out proteins. Just on a side note, mitochondria have their own ribosomes and make their own proteins because they probably were once free-living organisms. That's kind of crazy to think about. Crazy. Vacuoles are storage places inside of cells. So here's a plant cell. Remember the central vacuole that I showed you in that picture before? You can see it's up in blue there. Plants store water. Plants store starches. And surrounding, so here's the vacuole. That's this space in here in the middle. That's that big white space. And then around there are some other cool structures called chloroplasts. We'll get to those in just a second. Vacuoles are often filled with water. When that becomes depleted, plants wilt. So you went on vacation, you came back, your plants are all droopy. You gave them some water, and all of a sudden they perked right back up. That's because the vacuole was empty of water or hardly any water in it, and then you added some water, it swelled up and filled up the balloon of the cell, and the plant was solid again. Plant cells are different than animal cells in the fact that they have cell walls and chloroplasts. A cell wall provides rigid support, so you're taking notes right now on some cell wall material. Cell walls are made of a carbohydrate called cellulose. There's that ose suffix again. And so this is composed of fibers of cellulose that goes all the way around the cell. These are the chloroplasts, bundles of them, groups of them, and then most of that, you can tell that space right there, that's the vacuole. So that's an actual picture, kind of pixelated. Your author of your textbook didn't really choose a very high quality picture there. I guess I could have found a better picture. So anyway, cell walls provide rigid support. Here's just a quick look at the cellulose fibers. You can see the grains of the fibers. they've just been laid down in layers upon layers upon layers, held together. So the stuff here in the middle is lignin. It's actually a glue that holds the cells together, plant cells together. It's a pretty strong adhesive too. Scientists around the world have tried to use it to create glues and substances like that, to adhesive things. Chloroplasts provide energy for you and me, kind of indirectly. They take sunlight and they convert it into chemical energy. So here's a plant cell, and zoom in on a chloroplast, and then this is the chloroplast itself, and we've got these stacks of membranes. Holy cow! Increased surface area. Just like in mitochondria, nature's no dope when it comes to repeating things that work well. So we increase the surface area, so sunlight comes in, bow, slams into those membranes, and we go from solar energy into chemical energy, which is darn tasty to eat. Since we really can't do photosynthesis, we have to rely on the chemical energy that plants capture for us. Here's an electron micrograph of a chloroplast. So this is just like that picture I showed you of the mitochondria a minute or so ago. Again, layers and layers and layers, folded and folded and folded. Increase the surface area, increase the efficiency. Just that, nature, again, just doesn't waste things like that. So, animal cells, eukaryotic, full of pieces of parts called organelles. Mitochondria, endoplasmic reticulum, rough endoplasmic and smooth endoplasmic reticulum, cytoskeletons, free ribosomes, ginormous nucleus here in the middle, plasma membrane, a membrane going around the outside. What happened there? That's kind of crazy. You can do that. I didn't know I could do that. Well, I did it. So here's a plant cell. So what's different? What's different? This plant cell has chloroplasts, has a large central vacuole, and has cell walls. Cell walls. So some differences there between these eukaryotic cells. All right, just a quick review. Organelles are structures inside of cells that perform many functions. Prokaryotes don't have organelles. The cytoskeleton is involved in movement, support. Nucleus has the genetic information to make proteins. Endoplasmic reticulum is involved in transport and making proteins. Ribosomes build proteins. They take amino acids, slap them together, build a polypeptide chain, which turns into protein. Vacuoles store things like water and salts and nutrients in them. Mitochondria takes chemical energy and turns it into energy that cells can use, a different kind of chemical energy. Cell walls provide support. They're made of cellulose. They help plants stay upright. And chloroplasts. Chloroplasts, huge job collecting solar energy, turning it into chemical energy so that you and I can eat frosted cardboard nodules and pancakes in a bag. Yeah, pancakes in a bag. Now, a couple of things I'd like you to think about. A little Venn diagram action. What are some cell parts we find in plants and animals, and then what are some structures we find in both? You should be able to do that. That's something I would expect you to be able to do in making comparisons between those, what's the same and what's different. And there's just some, I borrowed all kinds of pictures and some animations and movies from people. Got to give them a little credit. So yeah, Organelles, Part 2.